Alright guys, welcome to my channel, JB's Crochet. I'm Amber, and today I'm going to show you, right in my lap, a tutorial for my cross pop blanket. Alright, so it does incorporate some clusters, as well as in between the clusters a set of crossed double crochets. Now, we're going to do a foundation area right here to start the square, and then we will do it is a one row repeat essentially, to keep, or one round repeat to basically just keep expanding out. So let's get started. Alright, so today I'm going to use a 5.5mm dots hook along with the mandala gradient in hot pink. So I always pull it from the wrong side, so I actually pulled it back through. So we're going to pull it from the right side. We're just going to have to do some pulling as it comes out through here, but we'll make it work. All right, so we're going to start out with a slip knot. My issue with my camera is I always have issues with this darn, it tries to focus on what's behind my hand, when even if I had a thing on my, if I was doing this on a table, it would still do the table versus this. Although I should just do this over my desk. So I'm going to chain 4. Okay, there's 4 chains. You see 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to take my hook, I'm going to flip over my chain, and I'm going to grab this back bump, and I'm going to yarn over, pull through that loop, and then I'm also going to pull through the next one. So that's a slip stitch. Okay, and then I'm going to chain 1. And then instead of chaining 3, I do a stacked double crochet. I like to do stacked double crochets. So I'm going to insert my hook into the hole right here. So the chain 4, when you slip stitch it, it creates like this little O shape. So I'm going to kind of just feel it and, get the center of it right there. I'm going to insert my hook. Actually, I'm going to yarn over and then, I'm going to insert my hook because I'm doing a single crochet, not a double crochet yet. I'm going to pull up my loop. I'm going to yarn over, pull through those 2. All right, I'm going to hold this tail out of my way. So now you have a single crochet here with that chain 1, and then this is the top of the single crochet. So this little vertical bar right here, this long bar, I'm actually going to insert my hook under that bar. I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and now I have 2 loops on my hook. So this is like the second part of a double crochet. So see how it kind of gives the height of a double crochet? When you do these, they blend in very well to the rest of the double crochet. So there's our stacked single crochet, which is now our first double crochet. So then we're going to yarn over, insert our hook back into that O, and then we're going to do another double crochet. So we have 2 double crochets now. So we have our first one right here and our second one right there. Then I'm going to yarn over and go in and do a third double crochet, pull through 2, pull through 2. Okay, so now we have 3. Then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to insert 3 more double crochets, and I'm keeping it over this tail. That's kind of how I'm, going to hide the tail and sew it in, so to speak. We're going to do 3 more double crochets. And that tail, you just kind of have to work around them. So there's 2. And then here's 3. That tail, and so I always like to, whenever I do my I like to kind of scooch them over a little bit so I can keep room for the rest of it. I'm going to chain 2 again, and then I'm going to insert 3 more double crochets. So there's 1, here's 2, I need to pull more yarn through the center here. I wonder if I just do it on my lap here and zoom in, if that will make it better. We'll see. You know, it's been a while since I've done a tutorial video, so I hope you guys enjoy this one. All right, so there's 3. So now we have 3 clusters with 2 chain 2 spaces. And then I'm going to, like I said, kind of scooch them over a little bit. Chain 2. Do 3 more double crochets into this little donut hole here, or O, little circle. There's 1. Still got that tail in between my, going through my double crochets here. So you can see it's coming out right here. Here's 2. Then 3. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 4 clusters of 3 double crochets. Now, in order to finish the round, instead of chaining 2 across and attaching, I'm actually going to do what's called a half double crochet join. So what I like to do is to figure out where to put my hook. I look over here at these 3, because you can kind of see there's a lot going on this side, right? So you see that the top of this stitch, there's a V. Top of this stitch, there's a V. And then if you follow this one up, the V is this one right here. Not this one on the side, but this one right here is the top. So I'm going to, so I yarned over. That's the beginning of my half double. I'm going to insert my hook into that V right there. It's so much easier to grab that V than those chain, when you do the chain 3 up and you try to like finagle your hook into it. And I don't like the look of it when you go in from the side and you kind of grab like the bottom bump and one of the sides of the V's. It kind of makes it twisty looking, and so I don't know, I just like this better. So you yarn over, pull up a loop through that stitch there, so then you have your 3 loops on your hook like you do your half double. You yarn over and go through all 3. And so what this does is it allows us to start every round in the corner. So when we turn our work like this, we can go into that area right there and start in the corner, and we don't have to slip over to a corner in order to do this. So then what I do is I do another stack single crochet. So I just go immediately into the space right here between the 2 cluster space. You know, we've got our 2 clusters, one here, and there's a space right here for our corner. So I'm going to insert my hook, do a single crochet, right? So there's my single, and there's that long loop right here. That long, the word, I lost the word. The strand, the loop, the post, whatever you want to call it. Sorry, I had to fix my hair. So I'm going to insert my hook under that bar, right? Bar, that's the word I was looking for. Under that bar, pull up my loop to do my single crochet, yarn over and go through those 2. So there's my first double crochet of that corner. And then I'm going to insert 2 more right next to it. So there's 2. Hold on, rewind. Not 2, not 3. We want 2 double crochets here. Reverse. Hey, you know what? We're going to leave the mistakes in. It just shows you, I forget things too. All right, so this is my pattern right here I'm following, y'all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a cluster. I'm going to skip over this first double crochet right here, this first V, and I'm going to go into the middle double crochet of that cluster down here. I'm going to yarn over. So this is going to be a 4 double crochet togethers. Am I saying that right? You're going to crochet 4 double crochets into one, if that makes sense, a cluster. So we're going to yarn over, we're going to go into that V, the middle V here, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2. Now normally you would yarn over and go through the next 2 to finish a double crochet, but this is a cluster of 4 double crochets. So we yarn over, but we go back into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, and then you have 3 loops on your hook. We're going to do that a total of 4 times. So 2 more times after, so this is the original loop we started with. We've done 2, we want 2 more. So yarn over, go into the space, the chain, or the stitch, sorry. Pull up a loop, yarn over, go through those first 2. Then you have the 3 and then the 4th. So you got 4 right now. So we yarn over, go back into that space, pull up our loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, and then we yarn over and we go through all 5 loops on our hook. Just like that. So that's a cluster of 4 double crochets together. Then we're going to chain 1 to close it. And then we're going to put 2 double crochets into this next corner. So we're skipping over this chain. I keep saying chain, and I'm sorry. Over this double crochet stitch right here, we're going to skip over that and go right into the next corner with 2 double crochets. So 1, pull some more yarn through, hold on. I got a little bit of a knot here to fix. Hold on a second. You know what? This is not a polished tutorial, so. Can I pull that through? There we go. All right, so I've got 1 double crochet in my corner already. I'm going to yarn over and do 1 more double crochet. Okay. So then we have 2 double crochets in this corner, our cluster, and then 2 double crochets on our side on this first round. Then I'm going to chain 2, double crochet 2 into the corner again. So all 4 sides are going to be identical the whole way through the blanket. So then we do a cluster of 4. A 4 double crochet cluster, I think. So we don't finish the double crochets 4 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, interruptions. Okay, so we have 3 double crochets started, so we got to do 1 more. So we yarn over, go into that stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, and then we have 5 loops on our hook. So we're going to yarn over and go through all 5, chain 1 to close it, and then we're going to put 2 double crochets into the next corner to finish that side. So there's 1 and 2. Okay, so we have 2 sides done. We're going to chain 2 and then put 2 more double crochets back into our corner. There's 2 double crochets. We're going to yarn over, skip this stitch here, and go into the middle one. So remember we have the 3 double crochets in this cluster down here. This is a different cluster, I guess, because these are not together. These are 3 separate double crochets, like almost like a fan. But we call that the granny cluster. So I yarned over. I'm going to go into the next, or skip this one, go into the middle one of the 3. And then I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to yarn over and only go through the first 2. I'm going to do that 3 more times. So yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. Yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. Yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. And then we have 5 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, go through all 5, and chain 1 to close. Then we're going to put 2 more double crochets into the next corner. I thought this gradient yarn would make a really pretty blanket with this cross pop tutorial. So I'm pulling up some more yarn. I think I've got it finally. I just got to work on getting that little bit of poof out, and that'll be a while. So, all right, so I've done my 2 double crochets into my corner. I'm going to chain 2. And then I'm going to put 2 more double crochets into the corner. And I did say, I meant to say this is round 2, by the way. And then with this tail, you could, in theory, if you wanted to, you could pull on it a little bit, and it will kind of sort of tighten up that center hole a little bit. And then you can kind of take the tapestry needle on this and feed it around a couple times, and then you can cut it off and it won't come out. All right, so we have our 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in our corner here. Now we're going to do the same thing we've been doing. We're going to skip this first double crochet and we're going to go into this center one right here. So this is our beginning one. That's why it looks a little thicker, but we have 3 separate double crochets there. We're going to go into this center one with our 4 DC cluster. So we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, and we're going to do that 3 more times. Yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, then you have 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through all 5, and remember to chain 1 to lock or close or whatever you want to call it. Oh, I got some yarn barf, pulling it through again. That's okay, we'll make it work. Where am I stuck at here? Hopefully I didn't cause a knot going back up through it with when I pulled it back through. Well, let's see. Pause, please. All right, let's see what is going on here. I'm gonna pause real quick and get this untangled and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Took me a few minutes. All right, so we finished with our 4 double crochet cluster here. So, and then we chained 1. And now we're going to, we're back around to the beginning of this round. So here's our 2 double crochets in our corner that we started with. We're going to do 2 double crochets into that corner. So here's 1, and then 2. And then to finish, we're going to do our half double crochet where you yarn over, you find that, so here's 1 and 2. We're going to go into that first V and complete our half double crochet, just like that. And then there's the back or front, whichever way you want to call it, of that round. If you flip it over, you can see those clusters are kind of popping out the front there. As you go along, they will kind of sort of be flat, but you know, it's part of the character and the texture. It just kind of depends on, you know, the size of the hook you use and all that fun stuff. So now to do round number 3, which is going to be our repeat round. We're going to repeat this next round throughout the blanket. So we just had to do, these first 2 rounds were kind of basically our foundation rounds. So we're going, our setup rounds. So we're going to insert so I turned our work, And then I'm going to insert my hook into this corner space underneath that half double crochet right there. Pull, do my single crochet straight up, no chaining or anything. I'm going to find that bar right here, insert my hook under it, pull up my loop, complete my double crochet, do one more double crochet into the corner. So then I have 2 double crochets here now. Even though that's the stacked single, it makes a double. All right, now we have these 2 double crochets from the previous round right here. We are going to place one of these clusters, into the center of this. So it's almost like into the center of the V here, but it's just 2 stitches, but we're going to go into this in between the stitches. So I'm going to yarn over, go between the stitches, pull up my loop, yarn over, go through those first 2. I'm going to do that 3 more times. Yarn over, go into that space, pull up my loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, and then I'm going to have 5 loops on my hook when I'm all said and done. I'm going to yarn over, go through all 5, chain 1 to close. Now, the next one is the crossed double. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to work into the spaces on either side of the cluster with the crossed double. So what I'm going to do is I yarn over to do a double crochet, but I'm going to not do it into this space right. You see how it has, we have a space right here. This is like the chain one's over here, but this is the part of that, part of the cluster here. So we want to actually go under that bar that's coming across here right here. So we're going to go into this space right here, do our double crochet. Okay, then we're going to go back over here to this side of the space, so to the right side. And we're going to insert our hook, complete our double crochet, and then we have a crossed double over the top of the cluster from below. And then we're going to do a cluster into these next 2 double crochets, just like we did over here. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the space between the stitches, pull up our loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go back into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go back into the space, pull up our loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, and then you have 5 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, go through all 5, and chain 1 to close. There we go. And then I'm going to do my 2 double crochets into my corner. Chain 2, 2 double crochets back into the corner, okay, and then we're going to repeat that same thing we just did on this side on the next 3 sides. So I will talk you through it as I do it, and I'll be here with you doing it. So I'm going to do my cluster into these 2 stitches in between the space of the 2 stitches here, the 2 double crochets. So I'm going to do a yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through 2, the first 2, yarn over, go into the space, pull up our loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. So then we have 5 loops on our hook, yarn over, go through all 5, chain 1 to close, and then we do a crossed double across this cluster here. So remember, we're going to go into the space here, but we're going to make sure we go under. If you pull it like this, you're going to see that there's a space, a little space here and a bar. We want to go under and through the bigger space right here, okay? So we go in there, we do our double crochet, just a normal double, and then we do a double back over here on the other side of the cluster into that space, do our double, and we have a cross double over at the top. And then I'm going to do another cluster, four double crochet cluster into here. So we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first two, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first two, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first two, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first two, yarn over, go through the 5 loops on your hook, chain 1 to close. And then 2 double crochets into the next corner. Chain 2, 2 double crochets back into the corner. And then we're going to do again a 4 double crochet cluster into these first 2 double crochet the space between these 2 double crochets. So we yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. I have to pause for just a second. I got to pull some yarn up. New cakes, new skeins. You know, you got to keep pulling yarn. Yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, and then I have 5 loops. I yarn over, go through all 5, chain 1 to close. Then I am going to double crochet into the space over here, the left side of the cluster, between the cluster and the next chain or the next 2 double crochets. I'm going to complete a double crochet, and then I'm going to come back over to the right side of the cluster and do another double crochet, which if you watch when you do this, you basically are encapsulating the other double crochet. So it's right here, right? So you're actually, make sure you go behind and you pull up a loop, so you kind of go, you basically crochet around that first double crochet that crossed over that way. So that's where the crossed double comes in, is you're essentially going around and like hugging that other double crochet. All right, so then we are going to put a cluster into these 2 double crochet the space here. So I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the 2, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through those 5 loops on your hook, chain 1 to close, and then 2 double crochets back into the next, not back into, sorry, chain 2 double crochets into the next corner space. So there's 1, and then 2, chain 2, do 2 more double crochets now back into that corner space. Here's 1, and then 2. So like I said, this round you basically will repeat over and over and over for as big as you want your blanket. So the last side here, we did our 2 double crochets in the corner. We're going to do our next cluster into the space between these 2 double crochets. So I yarn over, go into there, pull up a loop, go through 2, So there's 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, go through all 5, chain 1 to close, and that tail keeps wanting to get in the way. All right, eventually I will sew that and get that, you know, tie it up so it's out of my way. But the bigger you get with the blanket, the less you have to deal with it too. All right, so I'm going to do my last, or the cross double. I'm going to go into the left space over here with a double. I can't talk today. I'm going to cross back to the right side into this space and do a double crochet, going around that first one. Then I'm going to do a 4 double crochet cluster into the space here between these 2 double crochets. So here's 1. Remember, we half finished double crochets 4 times, so there's 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, go through all 5, chain 1 to close, and then we're going to finish off our side with 2 double crochets into this first corner we started in. So there's 1 and 2. Remember, we half double crochet into that first double crochet of the round to close, and there is round number 3. I'm actually getting bigger and bigger where I have to zoom back out for you guys. So here you can see the other side. It just kind of has some really fun texture. For some reason, the first round does this, and all the other rounds just kind of decide whether or not they want to puff out or not, but you can still kind of sort of see where the clusters are. But the more crossed doubles that we do, these will kind of get a little more, you know, accentuated, so to speak. So, all right, so we are going to do one more round, and this, like I said, this is where you'll see the repeat. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. All right, so I turn my work, and I immediately go into the first corner space here with a single crochet. Actually, I'm going to stay zoomed in. All right, so I'm going to go into that bar right here, pull up my loop, go back in with another double crochet. So I have 2 double crochets in my corner, and then here's the 2 double crochets from the previous round where we will put our cluster of 4 double crochets. So we do 1, 2, 3, and 4. So like I said, we half finish 4 double crochets. So there's the bottom half of 4 double crochets right there, and then we have the 1 loop on our hook. So we have 5 loops, so we pull through all 5 and chain 1 to close, and then we just go on and we do our cross double across this cluster here. There's 1, and then we come back over here, and there's the second one, and there's our cross double. And now, I guess this is the repeat row, because this is where you're going to go into, so basically when you do this blanket, when you do your chain 2s in your corner, you're going to cluster into the first 2 double crochets, and then you're going to cross double across all of your clusters, and you're going to put clusters into the space between the cross doubles. So you can see these 2 V's up here are our 2 double crochets that are crossed. If you see there's this bar right here, that is the bottom of that top part, right? We are actually going to find the space. So you saw me playing with this. You can kind of like use your fingers to kind of push the 2 double crochets apart, and you have this space right here below that, this bar right here. So we're going to go into this space right here with our cluster. So we do our half, you know, half finished double crochet right there, right? 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we yarn over, go through all 5. That 5th one was a little loose. A lot of times I try not to make that too loose, but it's fine. It'll get crocheted over on the next round when I do my cross doubles. Okay, so then we're gonna cross double across this one. Yeah, I feel like I'm saying across. All right, so double crochet into this space over here, and then we're going to double crochet back into this space here on the other side of the cluster. Okay, and you can kind of see the pattern coming out here. Really, really cool. I love it. And then I'm going to do my next cluster into the space between these last 2 double crochets on this side. And like I said, all of your sides are going to be identical to each other. So there's 2, 3, 4. And then you go through all 5, chain 1 to close, and then 2 double crochets into the next corner space. Chain 2, 2 double crochets back into the corner space, sorry. And then we're going to do a cluster into this first set of 2 double crochets right here into that space between them. So we do a half finished. Remember, we only go through the first 2, we don't go through the next 2. We do it 4 times. So there's 1 done, 2, 3. I'm trying to go slow enough so you can see what I'm doing here. 4, and then we go through all 5 on the hook, chain 1 to close, and then we cross double across either side. So we go to the left side of the cluster first, and then we come back to the right side of the cluster. So there's our cross double there, and then we, like I said, find that space between the 2 double crochets of the cross double below and do a cluster 4 together. So 1. If there's a more technical way of explaining this, please leave it in the comments, and I will try to work better on the next tutorial. All right, so there's 4 double crochets that started but not finished. And we have 5 loops, so we yarn over, go through all 5, chain 1 to close, and then we do a double across this cluster, or sorry, cross double across this cluster. Whew, feels like a mouthful. Okay, and then we're going to do another cluster into this space here between the 2 double crochets. So we do 1, 2. I thought, you know, by doing it into the spaces and stuff, it would make it so much easier to not have to worry about, you know, counting and stuff. And just, you know, being easier to find areas to go into. So we have 5 on our hook. We are going to go through all 5, chain 1 to close. And then we have 2 more sides to do. So let's see, we double crochet 2 into the corner. Then we chain 2, do another 2 double crochets into the corner, and then we're going to do a cluster into these 2 double crochets into the space. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we yarn over, go through all 5, chain 1, then we do a crossed double across this cluster below, And then we do another cluster. And remember, you just got to kind of force those 2 double crochets apart to find your space there. And do, I really need to find the technical term for this, 4 half finished double crochets to make our cluster. So we start 4 we start 4 double crochets without finishing them. So we have 4 and then 5. Go through all 5, chain 1 to close, and then we're going to come across this cluster, do a double crochet on the left, and then we're going to come back to the right and do a double crochet into the space on the right, and then 1 more cluster in the end here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yarn over, go through all 5, chain 1 to close, 2 double crochets into our next corner. I almost did a cluster. There's 1 and 2, chain 2. Then I'm going to do 2 more double crochets back into the corner. Y'all, I have to say that this yarn is soft. I don't know why. It's just, it's the mandala gradient in the what is this again? The hot pink. So right now it's not so hot. I mean, there's a reason it burns one's hands. It's hot pink. Anyway, so I did my 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and then I'm going to find the space between these 2 here to do my next cluster. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So yarn over, go through all 5 loops, chain 1 to close. Go over to the left side of the cluster, do a double crochet, come back over to the right side, do a double crochet, so we made a cross, an X with our double crochets, and then we're going to find this next double crochet cross here. We're going to go into the space between the 2 double crochets, make a cluster, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Go through all 5, chain 1 to close, do our double crochet cross on top of the next cluster here. And then we're going to do our our last cluster into this space here of those 2 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, and I apologize for moving around so much, as I just, you just kind of naturally move up like this, and so I just have to keep reminding myself, keep it down, keep it down. All right, so I'm going to yarn over and go through all 5 on my hook, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets into this corner space. So there's 1 and 2, and then I'm going to half double crochet into the top of this. So just a reminder, here's our 2 double crochets, here's the top of this one here, and then here's the top. It's a little shorter, not much, but it really doesn't make a huge difference when you're doing the corners anyway. So I'll do my half double crochet into the top of that one there, and that is the end of round number 4, right? We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's one side, and there's our other side. All right, I am going to explain to you real quick, and then I'm going to do a few more rounds, and I'll come back and just give you one more explanation of what to continue doing. And I hope you enjoy this tutorial, and make some. If you make If you end up making this, let me, share it with me in my Facebook group. If you're not in my Facebook group, it should be linked on my About page on my channel page. So this is what you're going to do. So that last round, round 4, you're basically going to repeat that one over and over and over. So it's really a 1-round repeat after you get basically your first, like, maybe 2 or 3 rounds of your set. I consider the first 2 rounds the setup rounds, but in order to see the repeat, I went ahead and did a 4th round to show you. This is what it's going to look like when you're going along. So you're going to come to this first 2 here. You're going to do your 2 double crochets into your corner. You're going to do a cluster into here. Then you're going to do your cross double over this cluster. Then you're going to do your next cluster into this cross. You're going to do a cross double across this cluster. Then you're going to do your next cluster into this cross double. Then you're going to do another cross double on top of this cluster. And then another cluster into this last 2 double crochets. And then 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in every corner. So that's the repeat for all 4 sides, and you just repeat that round over and over and over and over and over until you get to the size you want. So I'm going to keep going for a few rounds, and I will come back and show you a little bit more of what it looks like as it gets bigger with this yarn that I'm working with. This here is just the sample that I made to show you guys. That is, ladies and gentlemen, the cross pop blanket. So if you do this blanket, you can keep going and going and going until you get a 40-inch square, 40 by 40, and make it a Boggy Creek blanket. So I will see you guys back here in a few minutes with a little bit more done on this one here. All right, I'll see you in just a few minutes. Well, in just a second for you guys. All right, so I'm back and I have done several rounds. I'm on a new round here, almost around to the end. So I thought I would continue this last side. I'm gonna frog back because I honestly have to admit I just made the decision to do this last side with you guys because I realized I only had one side left. So, all right, so I came to the end of this side here with my cluster in that last set of 2 double crochets from the round below. I'm going to put in 2 double crochets into my corner. Okay, I need to zoom in. I like the zoomed in look better. All right, so I'm going to put my 2 double crochets. I'm going to chain 2. And then I'm going to do 2 more double crochets into the corner. All right, so like I was telling you before, all the rounds are going to basically start and end the same way, and you're just going to continue around. And I don't want it to sound boring, but yes, you're literally just going to do the same round. You know, it's just a nice, simple repeat all the way around. So I'm going to put my 4. I should have looked into that before, in my break. So we're going to do the 4 partial double crochets where you start 4 of them and then you yarn over and go through all 5 loops on your hook. Make sure to chain 1, and then on the next cluster you're going to double crochet on the left side of the cluster into the space between that cluster and the next crossed double. So you're going to do your double crochet, then you're going to cross back to the right side of the cluster into that space between the cluster and the last set of over here, because it could either be the 2 double crochets or your cross double that's on this side. And then you're going to do your double crochet around all of that, and you're going to come over here. I'm going to zoom in some more here. And you're going to double crochet, or sorry, start a double crochet, and you're going to do that 4 times. Ooh, this bright pink is like, this is not a good bright pink. It is messing with the colors. Ooh, it's psychedelic tutorial time. So 4 partial double crochets, or 4 started. You're going to yarn over and go through all 5 loops on your hook, chain 1. Oh, I got to get this situated here so I can hold it better. And then we're going to go a double crochet over to the left side of this cluster. Then we're going to double crochet back over to the right side of the cluster. And then we're going to do a cluster again. So you're just going to keep repeating cluster, cross double, cluster, cross double. And then in your corners, you will always have 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. So we will finish up this round, and then I will set my camera up so that I can look at you with, you can see me, and I can give you little bits and bubbles of information, and call it a tutorial. And then I have to work on getting the diamond pop. It will be coming soon. I'm trying to balance doing these recordings and also making sure that I'm not, y'all, I have to be honest, I can't prioritize this over the kids. And, family comes first on the YouTube streets. And we just want to make sure that, everybody understands that. And, and I love the fact that everybody here supports me and knows that I am a mom of 3 children. So, I have to make sure they, get my time, and I'm not constantly behind the camera recording or doing lives or anything like that. But then I also take advantage of when my husband is working, so I'm not taking time away from him either. So it's a balance, And they get to do things that they like to do, which is watch certain shows on YouTube, which are little game shows. It's funny, they watch other people, other creators, content creators, playing video games on YouTube. It's so funny. I guess it's them living vicariously through them, because they can't play all these games and do all these things that they can, I guess. I don't know. And then they also like to play video games. And their big video game right now is Fortnite. So, and Julianne, if you are watching this tutorial, the bigger this blanket got with this color I'm doing, the more and more it reminded me of Poppets. Like, for some reason, I think it was partially due to the hook size I was using, or I don't know. But I will say, if you guys make this, hook size matters. I used the recommended hook size for this yarn, and let me tell you right now, it works. It gives good stitch definition, but it is a little bit on, I don't know if I would say the tight side, because it still has some drape to it. It's not bad. It's not stiff. But I will say that in future projects, if I were to use this yarn again, when I use this yarn again, I should say, not necessarily with this pattern, but, who knows? I may do it in another color of these ombres, or these gradients, I mean. Of course, a friend would show up. But it's probably one of my kids' friends. So I'll let him answer the door and then come to me here in a minute. So, yeah, so if I use a gradient again, I will definitely be hooking up to at least a 6.5 and not doing a 5.5, because it works okay, like I said, but it definitely isn't as loose or drapey. It's, like I said, it's hard to explain unless you see it And when I go up to where I show my face, I'll show you a little better how it looks with how I have done it so far. So, all right, I have, oh, you know what? Let's take these back because we came to the corner. I'm going to do 2 double crochets into my corner. Okay. And then I'm going to half double crochet into the top of the first stitch. So these are going to be a little bit, I think, tougher to see with the camera. I don't know. But here's your 2 V's, your two double crochets. So this is that stacked single that is made for your first double here. You're going to go into the top of that and make your half double crochet just like that. And I will be back in just a second to give you all the final bits and bobbles. We'll be back. Okay, we're back. So here is what I have so far. So you can kind of see how it's kind of wavy when I hold it up, and it just kind of naturally does like a little wave to it. And that has a lot to do with the hook size. But the further you get out, I mean, it's a blanket. Nobody's gonna care that it has a little bit of this to it. And honestly, if you lay it flat, it lays flat. But look at that. It looks like a poppet. The bigger it gets, the bigger the poppet gets. I so badly want to call it the poppet, but I love the cross pop name. So I am so grateful that you guys helped me come up with that name. So this is the Mandala Gradient in Hot Pink. And my plan is, once I get done with this cake of yarn, I'm actually going to start the next cake from the darkest part and go out to the light again, and just keep going like this until it gets, I don't know, I'm either going to make this a Boggy Creek blanket, which, you know what, I might just do that, because this is what the purpose of this whole pattern was, to make it for Boggy Creek. So I'll have to let you know, watch my videos that I put out on a regular basis, and my lives that I do every morning, Monday through Friday, and just, check in, and I'll let you know how many cakes of the Mandala Gradient I ended up using. I'm guessing, because this is one so far, I haven't finished it, it's probably about halfway, maybe a little over halfway. I'm not entirely sure, because it's hard because it's a cake. You can kind of see where you think halfway is, but it's really hard to tell for me to determine where the halfway point is. So I'm gonna guess roughly halfway. Isn't that pretty though? Look at the texture on that thing. Love it. Oh, and I can't wait to come out with the diamond pop, because it's just as pretty. So this is the cross pop in the square. I will be coming out with a separate tutorial for the cross pop row by row, like side to side. So yeah, and then I think I also have this one. I think this is the one I did in the beanie as well. So those will come out eventually. I'm not going to be doing them, like back to back. It might be like once or like once a week, or so, something like that. I'm thinking at least for the next month I'll have Tutorial Tuesday, where I'll release this on the first, well, it's going to be the last Tuesday in February that this is released, and then the other ones will come as I can get them done, because my husband is off as of this recording. My husband has the next coming week off, and so doing the recordings and lives and stuff are going to be a little bit different. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and down in the description box is the link to my Facebook group, I believe. And if not, it is also on my about page on the main channels page, but I will try to remember to put it there, so that way you guys can come onto the Facebook page and make sure you answer all 4 questions. I will decline if you don't answer one of them. It's just a quick, simple answers. They're not hard questions. They're just more or less to make sure you're not a bot and that you're not a fake account for that same, you know, and even if I know you, I want you to do it because people make spam accounts all the time. So make sure that you answer all 4 questions and I will admit you in. If I see an answer, you know, that isn't weird, like, you know, like those, like, weird's not the right way to say it. If the answers aren't robotic, but then there's also like, you know, if you just answer them, you'll get in. This is all I'm saying. So, cross pop, there you go. Enjoy and let me know what you think.